Okay, so take two. we we had begun recording, and then we were invaded, and but we're back now. Here we are.
We're back, invaded by my children, the gremlins. So, yes.
Welcome to a Drive Home Reviews date night crossover.
Look how fancy we are. We have crossover episodes.
Can it be a crossover when we host both shows?
Yeah. I'm sorry. David Boreanaz was on Angel and Buffy.
But like when he wasn't okay. Okay, fair enough. Okay.
Technically, I don't host Drive Home Reviews. You do.
You're like my co-host.
Well, I mean, not like officially, like that's like a sometimes co-host type of situation. That's your jam, baby.
Okay.
I mean, wait, are you officially asking me?
Sweetheart, will you be my co-host?
I will co-host with you whenever you want me to, my darling.
So we had a wonderful date night tonight, dinner and talking and, a lovely time, and then went and saw the latest offering from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the much anticipated Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which, as we discussed before we stopped recording, that is just a very gangly title.
I don't know that it's gangly. I think that I enjoy the aesthetic of a long, intricate title like that. It's very literary, it's very comic booky. It's it really does like kind of set the tone. I feel like the first Doctor Strange was heavy and dark, and I felt like this one was much more entertaining and comic booky.
Well, and we got to give movie Bob Chapman the credit. He kind of called it with the acronym.
Oh, what was that? Mom?
Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, was it not known before? Like I really did no research on this whatsoever. I wanted to go into it cold.
Well, he theorized a while ago about what was kind of going to be the driving force of this movie by the acronym of the title, Multiverse of Madness. Yeah, MOM.
Okay, so they knew what the acronym was MOM, but we didn't know what the actual title was going to be.
Well, no, they knew what the title was, but he was the first one to kind of say, look at the three letters and think about what WandaVision was about. And
I get what you mean now. Not he was guessing about. Okay, sorry, it took my brain a few minutes to catch up.
I didn't explain it well.
So, but okay, so that it was going to be about Wanda.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So let's just jump right into it. Wanda. All right. I will tell you right out. I did not know what to think about Elizabeth Olsen at the beginning. I mean, she's an Olsen, sister of the Olsen twins.
And you're talking about when she was first cast way back when they did.
Well, I mean, when she was first in anything, like when she first started popping up in any kind of movies, right? She, you kind of get this vision of what the Olsen twins are like. Yeah, they were all cutesy, but now they're like uber super hipster now.
Yeah,
like so cool that it's not cool anymore. Cool, and so you kind of like get this impression that she's going to be kind of holier than thou, I'm cooler than you kind of impression, but like she is an amazing actress.
Yeah,
like she is a talented actress, and to take a role like this where she is the villain but you feel so much empathy for her from the beginning throughout all of her MCU appearances, like whether she is playing the good guy or the bad guy in any of the given situations, like you feel such empathy for her, and that is a talent.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen much of her not in the MCU?
In a few things, like not nearly as much as, in the MCU, but yeah.
Yeah, like she did a movie with Jeremy Renner a few years back that was pretty intense. And she was really good in that too. So she's, um, it seems like she's focusing mainly on the MCU, which I can understand that. That's going to give you a nice hefty paycheck, and
Right. Well,
but she's good even outside the MCU. I think she does. You're right. She does deserve that that praise.
and for this character too, like I just kept thinking through this movie. It's interesting that this movie is a Doctor Strange movie because to me, this is kind of a feminist set piece.
Hmm.
You know, I felt like a lot of girl power going on in this movie. Did you kind of get that?
Not necessarily, but I'm interested to kind of hear your take on that.
So not only do you have the Scarlet Witch as this, I mean, admitted like everyone in this universe tells everyone else they openly admit she's probably the most powerful being that is on the planet, like the most powerful witch. She takes down all of the Carmitage. Like she is probably the most powerful being in the multiverse, right? And she's definitely a woman. And it's not that she has the same kind of skills as like Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel had power, but she also could, she was a military woman. She could kick butt. Like without her power, you know, you don't have the same like her power lay solely within her. Like it's um not muscle, not, it's like mind like control and that kind of stuff. So like you have her as the most powerful being. Then you also have America Chavez, played by Zoshi Gomez, who is like kicking butt and taking names in this movie. And then in one of the universes, some of the most powerful beings in the planet are all female characters too. You have a fight scene that is all female characters when you have the Scarlet Witch fighting Captain Carter and Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it's about Doctor Strange, but it's also about so many strong women in it as well that you kind of like Doctor Strange almost fades into the background. And even in the end, like the whole reason he is able to do what he does, he is not the superhero in this one. Like the power really lay with the females, with Christine and with America. They are the ones who really made the difference and pushed the success through on this one.
Okay. So before we get too far into it, real quick, two things. So first, this is going to be a spoilery thing. So if you haven't seen this movie, you should go and do that, because we're going to talk uncensored and about everything. And the other thing, so real quick, just a quick. I don't know how to describe the plot here too much.
Crazy, like all
Yeah,
over the place.
it was all over the place.
So one
Long
time, I left the house and my dog got into my yarn stash, and when I came back, it was like a maze of yarn throughout the entire house. That was this plot.
Yeah. So long story short, a new super being, America Chavez, who's one of the more recent Marvel characters. Like she was invented within the last 10, 15 years, I think.
Right.
And who has the ability to jump between dimensions, is being chased by an unknown source, ends up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, meets Doctor Strange. He says, well, we need magic help, so I'm going to go talk to Wanda Maximoff. And it turns out, Wanda is actually the person going after America, trying to get her powers of portal jumping so she can find a universe where her children from WandaVision actually exist and she can get back to them. And that's
Right.
that's the basic plot outline, and then you throw everything. There's all portal jumping, dark magic, alternate versions, this, that, and the other thing. But the general gist of it is Wanda is trying to get back to her children, and Doctor Strange is trying to stop her from murdering
Everybody.
America Chavez to achieve her goals. And then
Right.
and then of course, because it's a Marvel film, things escalate and escalate and escalate. So there's the general plot outline.
Mhm. So what was your overall impression of this then?
Um, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say because it was just all over the place.
I know,
Like
I knew that was gonna drive you nuts.
that it didn't necessarily drive me nuts. It just makes formulating a streamlined opinion a little bit harder because there were parts of it I really, really liked, and other parts of it I felt were very gangly, and other parts of it that I don't know. It's very hard to kind of um, formulate a solid plot line.
Overarching, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so tell me something good about it.
So we discussed about Sam Raimi being the director,
Mhm.
and this is definitely a Sam Raimi joint.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Yeah.
because his horror movie chops are very, very firmly on display here,
Oh, big time.
and um, this is like the most horrific. I don't know what.
I
Um,
think, like, it does definitely have some horror aspects to it, doesn't it?
oh, it's
Like,
got a lot of horror aspects. Like not some. It is like laden with
yeah.
them.
There was a couple of places that I absolutely jumped in my seat, which of course
Yeah,
that's not difficult for me, but yeah, when when zombie Doctor Strange came out, I was like, "Oh my god." Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what was funny is that it started out relatively minor, like when they're fighting the giant octopus thing at the very beginning, and like they kill it by like stabbing it in the eyeball, and the eyeball pops out. I was like, okay, that's a little bit more gruesome than a typical Marvel film, but okay. And then like it got worse, but not like in a bad way. Like stylistically and visually, the horror aspects got ratcheted up.
Yes.
Like as the movie till it was like the battle scene we were talking about, which I'm sure we'll talk about the various members of the Illuminati here in a little bit. But the battle scene between Wanda and the Illuminati, it was fucking gruesome.
Yeah, it was intense.
Yeah, it was not, and
Yeah.
she was
Oh
like,
my gosh, and she's, like, barefoot walking through glass and,
and
like,
she's like
she is
covered in blood, like she looked like
oh my
Carrie.
gosh. Yes, and then, like oh, yeah, it was definitely intense, and even the parts that they didn't show, like Captain Carter's death, they didn't show the gruesome part of that, but it was still you felt it. It was
Yeah,
visceral.
and
Yeah.
that's what Sam Raimi, because people forget that, but I remember watching Spider-Man 2 in the theater, and the scene where Doc Ock wakes up in the operating room and the tentacles
Oh,
are killing
yeah.
everybody. I mean, that was intense.
Yes, that's true. I
So
mean, he is like you know him more. You're a Spider-Man guy, but and I'm not really an Army of Darkness fan. I'm not big on the Evil Dead universe, but that's more the
yeah,
type of stuff I'm used to with him.
yeah, that's where he got his start with those grindhouse,
Exactly.
old school horror films. So I
And there
mean,
is a touch of that here, only,
yeah,
done
oh,
stylistically.
I think there's more than a touch. I think it's like it is poured on, and it
I
like
think
he
that
made
there was
Wanda into fuck. She was scary.
he was. And but he also like this was the beauty of it. He made her into scary. He made her into this horror creature, but he also brought it back down in a really beautiful, quiet way.
Yeah,
In That like the climax is so gentle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on Drive Home Reviews After Dark, the gentle climax. Um, but no, it was so beautiful. Like you don't expect this beautiful, touching moment in the middle of this horror kind of superhero, big, crashy, boom, boom movie.
So yeah, the direction I was a big fan of. I'm also a big fan of this new character of America Chavez.
Oh, yes.
She was wonderful.
Xochitl Gomez. Xochitl Gomez. She is she's only like 16, but she is kicking butt all over the place with the queer representation. I don't know if she's queer in actuality. I don't know if she's part of the, LGBTQIA community, but she's on the new Babysitters Club series
Oh,
too.
okay. I didn't know that.
Which is like I stand the new Babysitters Club series. Like it is amazing. It has got all kinds of representation in it. It's beautiful. And in this, she's got this jacket that's got an American flag on it. And you expect, American flags have kind of, especially in clothing, have kind of come to symbolize conservatism and nationalism. But she's got an LGBTQ, the QIA inclusion pin on it, and it's got "Love is Love" written in Spanish all over it, and so it's there's just such great queer representation in this movie.
Well, the character is gay.
Yes, and the daughter of lesbian moms, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I was just beaming.
And you know what I really liked about the America character and the way she was represented is I liked that they didn't feel like they had to stop the plot dead to go, oh, by the way, I'm gay.
Right. And you're starting to see that more. I think Marvel's done a pretty good job of that. In the Eternals, they did it too. Like it was just like, this is a gay character, and this is,
this is a thing.
We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to mention it. It's just
not going to be a big thing or a big reveal. It's just, hi, here's a gay character. Oh, she's got moms.
Yeah.
This isn't a big deal. Like, calm the fuck down.
A gay Hispanic character who speaks Spanish quite a lot in the movie.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, like intersectionality. Woohoo.
So yeah, I dug her, and I'm interested to see kind of where she goes and what they're gonna do with her going forward.
How about Benedict Wong? I know you're a big Benedict Wong.
Benedict Wong is always awesome.
Yeah.
And as I was thinking about it, it's just because the character of Wong in the comics he's a manservant. He's an Alfred. He's a butler.
Right, but they've given him so much more here.
And that's what the cinematic universe has done so well with a lot of these characters, is just breaking them down from their original, what they were originally, and building them back up into something new and way cooler than what they were. So Benedict Wong is always freaking awesome. I love him. I've never seen anything he's in that I didn't like, or at least didn't like him in. And yeah, I love Wong, and I love that he's like the new Nick Fury, or the new Agent Coulson, who's bouncing between all these movies.
I know. Well, one thing I also enjoyed is that they gave the Christine character, they gave Rachel McAdams so much more to do in this one.
Oh, I know.
She was basically a prop in the first Doctor Strange.
She was so superfluous in that first movie. Like, it was a question of like, why is she even here?
Right. And she's like, she's so much better in this one. You can really kind of see a lot more humanity in Doctor Strange because of that.
Yeah, and I have to say, it's funny that Doctor Strange is kind of the least interesting thing in the movie that bears his name. It's kind of got the Batman.
I called it though, didn't I? I
You
told
did.
you that was gonna happen.
And you were right, and you were absolutely right, because Doctor Strange is one of these characters, in my opinion, that he's great in these Marvel films, but he's great as a side character. He's great as a plot device, like he was in the Avengers films, like he was in No Way Home.
Right. And I really think that they kind of did that with him in this, because yes, he's the main character, but he's always got somebody else there who is
Yeah.
sharing it with him, like this is a relatively small cast. I mean, aside from all of the, what do you call them, time warrior guys?
Yeah, the Illuminati.
Yeah, but like, I mean, in reality, as far as an MCU movie goes, this is a pretty small main cast that we're working with.
Yeah, just basically 4.
Yeah,
5 actually. Rachel McAdams, Benedict Cumberbatch, Benedict Wong, Elizabeth Olsen, and you say the young lady's name because I'm gonna.
Xochitl Gomez. It is spelled like very different. So.
Yeah, I'm always afraid of butchering people's names.
So, but it's yeah, like I said, relatively small for an MCU movie main cast, but it's very much, I feel like, an ensemble piece. I think they all kind of share, the main focus. But I know you're dying to talk about the Illuminati.
Well, hang on. Well, I am, but I think you make a couple good points there to kind of touch on. I think that maybe is why they kind of went with the title the way they did. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, because yeah, he's kind of the narrative point of view character, but you're right, this is much more of an ensemble piece.
Mm-hmm.
You could have just called the movie The Multiverse of Madness.
Right.
But saying Doctor Strange in kind of links it back to a certain character's point of view.
Because it is as much about Wanda as it is about Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Like they both have complete arcs and complete journeys.
And what I liked about that is I liked his arc was different than kind of the arc he had in the first one of stop being an egotistical bastard.
Right.
And this one is more just kind of dealing with his own unhappiness and the bad choices he's made.
He has much more of a sense of humor in this one, which I think really came out more in the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
And that, was continued on through this.
Yeah.
So, which I think is what you need. Benedict Cumberbatch is a charming fella, and you didn't get that charm in the first Doctor Strange movie.
Well, he was much more in the Tony Stark mold of being very snarky.
Yes.
So his charm was going towards the snark, but whereas Robert Downey Jr. can be snarky and still be charming, Benedict Cumberbatch snarky comes off as asshole.
Maybe it was just the Sherlock for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of.
But I totally, I'm with you there. I think that they have improved the character greatly.
Yeah.
So
I think they found, almost like he is kind of the new Tony Stark. They found that giving him a teenage sidekick is a good.
Yes.
Because he worked really well with, Tom Holland and his crew in the last Spider-Man movie, and then, and here with Miss Chavez.
There's something he does that whole I don't understand your point of view kind of thing very well.
The young people.
Yes. Oh, the youths.
Old man yells at cloud kind of thing. But before we talk about the Illuminati, because that is a whole discussion in and of itself. So we talked about the good stuff. So what didn't work for you in this? Like what?
It would be very hard for me to kind of point out something that didn't necessarily work for me. I feel like it was long. I would have liked to see more of the multiverses. But that's my own kind of set designer creative side where I want to just like go explore all the worlds. The multiverses they created were beautiful. The idea of a New York City where the buildings are, you know, kind of serving as ecosystems, and they've got plants growing all over them is just like such a beautiful idea. Um, but you know, I can't really put my finger on something that didn't work for me other than the wig that Rachel McAdams is wearing in the second half.
Yeah, that looks
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, I mean, you got $8 bazillion dollars, Marvel, get a better wig. But, um, other than that, like, I can't really what about you?
You know, I'm also having a real hard time kind of putting my finger on it. The best way I can describe it is felt like felt like the waters were getting muddier as the film went on. Like it started out with a fairly straightforward plot,
Right.
and then it just got more and more, I'm not going to say convoluted, but it felt like they kept layering more and more stuff on top of it so that the concept of Doctor Strange is a threat in every universe, the concept of you know the dark more or whatever the evil book is, it felt like it kept getting more complicated when it didn't really need to be. Like they could have focused on the main the main idea which they'd set up and seen that through in a much more streamlined way. As you mentioned, it was a longer running film. All these Marvel films are getting
Longer.
pretty long. Um, and it's not to say that any of the stuff they did was bad or not in character or that it didn't add stuff. It just felt like they were trying to make it overly complicated.
I think that is a problem that you run into with comic book universes because there is such a glut of story and storylines that you have to think, what am I going to include in this? And part of it is, what are they trying to set up for the next thing?
See, and that's the thing. I would accept that argument if this wasn't a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. Like no, I'm serious, because if this was any other like one-shot comic book movie, I can understand a studio going, okay, what story are we going to tell with this to try to get an audience hooked? But the Marvel films have always they've taken a lot of very convoluted story arcs like Civil War
Right.
and streamlined it.
True.
And
True.
and they've always known that there's going to be 27 other fucking movies and TV shows and everything else where they can flush out all of these other things.
Well, and part of it too is that when you get into the concept of the multiverses and whatnot, you know, one of the ways that they explain away how this actually could work and how, like the scientific realism of something is just like, here's more shiny things.
Yeah.
Distract yourself,
Yeah.
So there is that, but I don't know. I think that I can't think of anything that I would remove from it because the concept of Doctor Strange being evil in every universe, that one of the guiding themes throughout the MCU is, do you have control of your destiny, or are you allowed to make good and bad choices? Or does destiny control you? Like that's a continuing thread through a lot of things. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about there with Doctor Strange is he destined to make stupid choices in every universe, or is he able to control that and make better choices, learn from his own mistakes.
Actually, you know what I think it is? I think now I can kind of, during this conversation, I think I've been able to even streamline my thoughts a little bit. I think the problem here for me is that they made the quote unquote mistake of making Wanda the villain, because Wanda's story was a million times more interesting.
So you think if they would
And
have focused on the Scarlet Witch rather than Doctor Strange?
I think if they had chosen another villain, or there was another reason he was going through the multiverse, and the movie was about him, learning, is this my destiny? Is this, am I always going to mess everything up? Is that just, see, or the concept of seeing how that old idea of, if only we could see ourselves the way other people see us, seeing how other universes saw him and learning about
Right.
himself, you know, maybe it would have worked, but they paired it with a much more interesting Wanda story,
I'm
which
going to
I was
disagree with
way
you.
more invested in.
See, I'm going to disagree with you that it would have worked better, because I don't think it would have. I think if you would have separated the storylines, the Doctor Strange story would have been boring. And if you would have tried to just focus on the Scarlet Witch, that's a movie that would never have gotten made, because it took 20 damn years to make the Black Widow movie. So in modern atmosphere of, movie making and United States of America, they're not going to make another, superhero movie, especially one where her motivation is questionable, that showcases and centers on a woman. I just don't think it's going to happen. So
I'm not saying it would have been a better movie. I'm saying that his character journey that felt like it was tacked on. The main character's character journey felt tacked on. Would have been able to be flushed out more. I'm not saying it would have been a better movie. It's a much better movie with Scarlet Witch in it, and her being the driving force. It's a way better movie. I'm just saying his journey might have been given the focus, and therefore would have felt more complete. I'm not saying it would have been better.
I would say that this is a common tact used in the MCU, because if you look at Captain America, the Winter Soldier, that was mainly about Bucky's journey rather than Captain America's journey. And if you look at Thor, what's the one with the ice giants called?
That's just Thor.
Is that no? Okay, the second one, the second Thor.
Oh, the Dark World.
Dark World. That's really more about Loki's journey, right? Like,
yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, because in those movies, those characters are secondary characters, and they have their own arcs that then splintered off into other things. But it was always brought back to how the main character reacted to them and played off of them.
Yeah, and the other thing we have to consider too is that in Sam Raimi movies, the villain always takes a pretty significant role. So, yeah, but I don't know. I'm not going to say this is my favorite in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not even my favorite one to come out in the last 2 years. Shang-Chi definitely holds that that notion. But I would say that I didn't really have a problem with this movie. I thought it did what it was supposed to do. And I sat there for a good portion of it trying to figure out how I was going to make a Scarlet Witch costume for Halloween this year. So, I think it did what it was supposed to. Do you think that she's dead?
I don't believe so.
I
definitely don't believe so, because I think she's too good of a character with too much fan support, and they are. And this is a great segue to kind of lead into the discussion of the Illuminati.
Right.
They're eventually going to bring the X-Men.
Yeah, that's
into
true.
the MCU, and she was an X-Man, or she was the daughter of Magneto in most continuities. So I don't think, and that's the
And
great thing they've kind of done with this great get out of jail free card they now have.
with the multiverse,
The
you can
multiverse
bring
is,
anybody
oh, that,
back.
oh, look, here's another one. We've got spares.
I there's just something about Wanda and her, just she can go from this great like suburban mom character to just the pits of grief over Vision. And I love how she just just brings him up and calls him Viz, and like, I mean, it's just like I could fawn over the Scarlet Witch all day. Also, I want to live on her farm that she made up,
Oh
her
yeah,
apple orchard. Like,
great,
I'm like, I am there. I
great.
want to be there.
But yeah, I think she's too good of a character, and I think especially after WandaVision and after this movie, I think she's gained just an even larger fan following. So I
Mhm.
think they'd be stupid to actually have her be dead.
Yes.
I think she's going to come back in some way, shape, or form at some point.
Okay, the Illuminati.
Okay, so the big centerpiece of this movie, like literally the centerpiece, is like right in the middle of this film.
Mhm.
Going to this one universe, they encounter the Illuminati, who in the comics were made up of Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Black Bolt, Namor, and Mr. Fantastic and Professor X.
Right.
And they set in motion a lot of things in like early 2000s comics, um, and so here we have it, and they start us out with like just some wonderful cameos, like Haley Atwell being back as Agent Carter from the What If
Which is
series.
amazing. Like, giving Peggy Carter the chance to be Captain America is just like, I mean, it's awesome.
Lashana Lynch from Captain Marvel is now
Mhm.
Captain Marvel. Um,
Now,
Ashton Mount,
okay, so Lashana Lynch, did she play the
she
friend
was,
or
yeah,
the daughter?
she was her friend. She was
The
her,
friend. Okay, the
yeah.
friend. Right.
So in
Okay.
that universe, she became Captain Marvel. Uh,
Right. Whereas
Ashton Mount,
in the modern, like in the one based off the Disney Plus series, we're looking at the daughter. Her daughter is the Captain Marvel understudy, I guess you would say.
no, that's a whole other thing.
Okay. It's
Yeah,
hard to keep them all straight,
the
man.
new Miss Marvel is a whole other character.
Oh, Miss Marvel. That's right. Miss Marvel, not okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue on.
Ashton Mount returns as Black Bolt.
Okay, so you say returns. What was he in?
They did a, okay, way back. I forget even when this was. This is when Agents of Shield was still on. There was a plan to do an Inhumans movie,
Okay.
and that fell through, and it became a TV show that was streamed or something. And it was it was like the first real failure the Marvel Cinematic Universe ever had, because nobody liked it, and it was cheap looking, and he played Black Bolt in that. And it's one of those
Anson
things that has
Mount, man.
just been swept under the rug. No one talks about it. It has no bearing on anything. So the fact that they brought him back is kind of a,
That's pretty nice.
yeah.
But the thing about, 'cause it's so funny because I could recognize his jawline and his mouth, but I couldn't figure out who it was. But Anson Mount does it's not that he's like this amazing actor who can like camouflage and chameleon and do whatever, but he does a thing very well. And that thing he does, he's very, very good at,
Oh
like,
yeah.
and I have liked that character in all of the things he has done it in. Like, he used
I'm
to be in
so
this
looking,
series called Hell on Wheels. Did you ever watch that?
no, but
Oh,
I'm so
so good.
looking forward. I'm so looking forward to when I finally get to watch the new Star Trek series with him in it.
Oh yeah, Strange New, like, yeah, that's gonna be
He was
that's
awesome as Pike in Discovery.
so, like, he does a thing very well, and he did that thing in this very well.
So those are all fun, but then we get to the two big cameos.
Right.
Like these are the ones that people I assume have been talking about. So I can never pronounce his name. What's his name from The Office?
John Krasinski.
So John Krasinski, who fans have long been wanting to see show up as Mr. Fantastic. They've been campaigning for it. He himself has said he wants to play Mr.
He's
Fantastic.
perfect.
Shows up as Mr. Fantastic.
Yes.
So,
I mean, and I honestly, I don't know if it's a thing. I don't know if he's going to be the Mr. Fantastic. I know that you have a long time wish that Hugh Jackman would be Mr. Fantastic.
it's not even a long time thing. I just think he and Michelle Williams work really good together, and I think they'd be great as Reed Richards and Sue Storm. That's all. That's like, I have no problem with him with, you know.
No, John Krasinski is like, I think that he's got the touch of nerdy, sciencey, smart guy thing, but has also got the tough guy street cred from like his Jack Ryan stuff and, you know, his action movies that, I don't know, I think he just kind of suits the role really well.
But the other part of it is that it'll be interesting to see the way they go with it, is that Mr. Fantastic is also kind of a dick.
Well, yeah, but so was Jim in The Office a little bit.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You know, so I mean, I was never like on board with that. It was never a big thing for me. Oh, he has to play it. So, but I know for a lot of people it was a big deal.
Kind of like the whole Donald Glover should be Miles Morales.
Yeah. So I get that for a lot of people that was a big deal. So I get it, but that's not the cameo that got my nerdgasm going.
Oh my goodness, I actually squealed when this one happened.
I applauded.
Yeah.
I mean, the worst kept secret because he was in the trailer and he himself ruined it by posting it on Facebook. Damn you, Patrick Stewart.
Yes, I love Patrick Stewart though.
Oh my gosh. In comes Patrick Stewart as Professor X. And
oh my gosh, Professor
not
X.
only that, this is what I love, and they did this in No Way Home as well. I really loved it when they did it. Not only did they bring him in, but as he's coming in, they do a music sting from the 90s X-Men animated series. One of the best theme songs of all time. You know, he's wheeling in and you just hear that little like, yes!
Oh, yes. And I mean, I'm an X-Men nerd, you know that. Like, I love the X-Men in general and the allegory of the X-Men, the things they stand for. That's probably one of my favorite comic book areas. And Professor X is just such a wonderful character that anytime he shows up, I just like get all excited.
So that was
Patrick Stewart is amazing. So
oh yeah. So
and
I thought it was a wonderful, just because clearly, at least in my opinion, and this is where the interesting conversation with John Krasinski kind of comes in. Clearly, Patrick Stewart is not going to be the Professor X for the X-Men movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right.
Clearly, the guy's in his 90s.
Right.
You
yeah.
know,
I mean, I wouldn't want at that I think I wouldn't want to take on a new franchise at that age, you know?
No, that's why a lot of people are like, "What? They're going to cancel Picard after season 3." It's like, the dude is in his freaking 90s.
Yeah. I mean, spry and you know, still handsome as heck, but
so I feel like this was a wonderful bit of, it's fan service. It is pure fan service in the most wonderful, appreciative way to bring him back and give him that one last cheer moment, especially since the death in Logan was so dour and sad.
I cried for so long.
I mean, it's the way it should have been, but to give him that audience appreciation, applause, and see him in the golden chair and everything,
it was good.
It was a really good moment, and I really appreciated it. So that's where my my debate kind of comes in. Is I don't know. They've made no casting announcements about the Fantastic Four.
I mean,
None.
I would be kind of gun shy about the Fantastic Four because every time they've tried to do something with it, it's like fallen
Yeah,
flat.
they
Like,
suck.
yeah,
You know.
so I get it. Like, I would be gun shy about it too.
So I don't know if. So you asked a bit ago if I think he's the. I don't know. I don't know if this is meant to be like a Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther or Tom Holland as Spider-Man, where here they are, we're introducing them in this movie. This is your new whoever, or
Right.
if it's more of a Patrick Stewart of here's a lovely bit of fan service. You asked for it, you wanted it, here it is, and we're moving on and doing something different with it.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know which way they're going to go with it. They haven't made any kind of announcement yet.
Now, it's going to be interesting to see what the next steps are. Like, it's been fun to kind of see the new generation of the MCU come in and see where it goes.
Yeah, and that is kind of one of the things I was thinking of driving back is that's the one thing currently that bugs me a little bit about the MCU movies. Just a little. They're still enjoyable. I still love them. But I'm really curious, where is it all going now? No? Where is it leading? What's the next big, you know,
I don't know. Will there be another big thing, or is it going to be a bunch of little things now?
that's the
I
question.
know.
Is it feels like right now, especially now that they're bringing TV shows and everything into it, it feels like everything is just kind of happening,
I could see that.
and there's and the best I can kind of figure is that what they're leading to are the introduction of the Fantastic Four and the X-Men.
Right.
And then
Which, if they like the X-Men, if that's the next thing, that's going to be
yeah, that's going to be
where
pretty
the ends.
big,
Yeah.
you know.
So, which I could see happening.
Yeah, so but in terms of everything kind of like they did with everything up to Infinity War, that everything was leading to this.
Right.
I don't know. It just feels like there's just so many other disjointed things going on, and I don't know if there's a unifying. I don't know if it needs a unifying thing.
I know. I think to me at this point, it's kind of like when you've taken television and you've put it on streaming services, how instead of everybody watching the same thing anymore, you have all these extra choices that you can watch. And I feel like that's kind of what the MCU has done. If you are someone who still likes the big splashy movies, they've got those. But if you want to focus on animated series, you got that. If you prefer the 8-episode arcs, they got that,
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
think
that's the only thing I will say before we kind of get to because our time on the meeting is running out. Damn cheap Zoom. Is that the one place I feel that they are falling down recently? These post-credit sequences have sucked.
I know, but I mean, the Bruce
Like,
Campbell thing was fun.
the Bruce Campbell thing was funny, but I just mean they have not.
It's not been
It's been a long time since they've done a post-credit sequence that made me go, "Holy shit, that next thing is coming!"
right. Well, because they're getting more and more obscure. Like Clea, who's Clea? Like
Yeah, I don't know.
I was more sitting there going, "Is that Charlize Theron?"
Yes, it
Like,
was.
yes, I know, but like she was almost too polished. It was like, is that her or is that not? So
Yeah, and then I think back to like the post-credit sequence for the Eternals and
wasn't that just which one was it where it was just basically a trailer for this movie?
yeah, pretty much, and
Yeah.
god awful Venom cameo in No
Oh
Way
yeah.
Home. because
Yeah.
that's what we want to do after a great Spider-Man movie. Let's attach it to that cancerous piece of shit.
Tell me how you really feel, honey.
Don't make me.
So,
Yeah. So yeah,
I don't know. I still walked out of this with a big smile on my face.
Oh, yeah, I had a great time with it.
Yeah. So, which is saying something after 2.5 hours. So,
Yeah. So
uh,
okay, so let's wrap this up. We've talked a lot, or we've covered a lot of things. So final grade for you for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
I'm an a solid A. Like, you got queer representation, you got intersectionality, you got a lot of feminist power, you got the Scarlet Witch is kicking butt all over the place. I actually didn't want to like roll my eyes at Doctor Strange this time. So, it's an A for me.
Okay. I'm going a little lower, not a whole lot lower, but a little lower. I'm going a B plus
Okay.
on this one because I liked a lot of things, but again, I felt like it was a bit disjointed, and sadly, when the plot focused on Doctor Strange is when everything felt like it grind to a halt. And when your main character's story arc is less interesting than the villain's story arc, I think there's a structural problem somewhere.
Right.
But
Right.
but I agree with everything you said. I dig the representation. I dig Elizabeth Olsen as the Scarlet Witch. The cameos were amazing. I love the new America Chavez as a new character, and I can't wait to see what they do with her. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and Sam Raimi back in the director's chair, and Danny Elfman doing his amazing music. Oh, what about the fight scene with the musical notes?
Oh, that was crazy.
That
Like,
that was so inventive and brilliant.
yeah, I mean, it was very interesting.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot to like here. A little disjointed, but all in all, a good film, and I had a good time.
Yes.
So there we go. So there it is. And as always, it's interesting to see where this is going next.
Absolutely. Where it's going next is Thor: Love and Thunder, which
Yes.
I cannot wait.
I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Cannot wait. Cannot wait. I think that I jumped out of my chair when Lady Thor showed up.
Oh yeah.
Like, cannot wait.
So, I like how it's not even Lady Thor, it's just Thor.
Well, I know, but
They're
to
not
me,
they're
the
not even
lady
doing
part is important.
no, they're not even trying to label. It's like, no, you're Thor. You're not even, you don't have to like
I know.
Thor girl or anything like that.
I know, right? Like, not like She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Thor.
All right. So thank you all for listening. Thanks for coming along with us. Thank you for a wonderful date night, my love.
Oh, thank you, my honey.
And to steal a line, which you got there first because your movie started like 10 minutes earlier than mine, because I was reaching for my phone to text this to you the minute they said it. I love you in any universe.
I love you in any universe, my darling.
So thank you for joining us. And as always, drive safe, and we'll see you at the movies.